When Better the Devil You Know was released in 1990, it sparked a flurry of headlines around the world. But there was one image in particular that stood out for the media. As one UK breakfast TV host purred at the time, the clip features Ms. Minogue canoodling with a black man. Good grief, right? Well, that man was one of Kylie's main troupe of dancers at the time, Richard Allen. G'day, Richard.
Good day. How are you?
It's great to hear you.
Oh,
All the
fantastic.
way there from London, where I know it's 10 o'clock in the morning. So thank you for getting up and having a chat with us.
We have sunshine in London, believe it or not. It's going to be
I know.
some,
What's going on with that?
yeah,
I
something
know
like
it's very rude because it's
34 is
cold
meant to
here.
be today.
I can tell that you and I are the same age, Richard, because we've started the conversation by talking about the weather. And I don't even mind. That's how old I am. Hey, Richard, did you know when you were shooting that scene in Bed of a Devil, you know that it would cause such a collective gasp?
Really, I mean, to be honest, we had no idea. It was quite different to anything that Kylie had done before. And she just, I mean, to be honest, what was interesting is she was the one that dictated the way it was going to go. So it was kind of interesting. So we thought, okay, we're going to do this. Let's try it. And because it was shot in Melbourne at the time, I think we were on tour. So we shot the video in the tour, and then it was released. So when I came back to London, I was not prepared for the furore that was awaiting me. I mean, even
I
down to
love
the
it.
point my neighbour, who hardly ever spoke to me, ran outside with the front of a newspaper and said, "Is that you?"
Wow.
I mean, it was amazing because I was not prepared. Everywhere I went, suddenly, like, oh, you. So it was the frenzy was not, it was something amazing. But
Are you telling me it made front page news over there, really?
it was on the, it was, I can't remember if it was on the front. It definitely
That's
was, it was a
crazy.
double, it was definitely, I can't remember if it was front page, but it was definitely a full page spread.
I remember the scandal. I mean, it was crazy. Tell me this. Can you shed any light on this? There's been this legendary little piece of juicy gossip going around the Kylie fan community forever, ever since it was released, that she deliberately chose to shoot it in Melbourne so that she was far away from the control and influence of the PWL machine, so that she could, as you've already just confirmed, take a bit of control. Is it true that there were frantic phone calls going between London and Melbourne to say, what is this lady doing? How can she be wearing hot pants? And this is not wholesome.
Um,
Any light on that for
well,
us?
I would say, I mean, there's probably an element of truth in there because she wanted to, they had the image of her very much as in the early days and, very wholesome and nice and everything. And she wanted to do something else and it was her decision and she was in control. So, you know, I think there probably was an element of that at the time because they don't, people don't like change or they're unsure or they just think, oh, let's just leave it as it is. So I think there probably was an element of truth that she was deciding because at the end of the day, she was the one that decided exactly where it went. No one said, influenced her. She said, right, okay, I'm doing this. And she has done over, as over the years.
So, but this was an important one because she hadn't taken control before, but she'd been agitating for it. You could sort of tell around the delinquents, even the theme of what she decided to choose for her first film script, for example. So she'd sort of been agitating, and definitely Michael Hutchence was on the scene. Was it interesting for you as someone who'd worked with her since The Locomotion to actually see her on the set of Better the Devil, A, looking that way, because I'm sure even you hadn't seen her look that way before, and B, actually exercising some control?
Yeah, it was interesting. I mean, at the time, I mean, we were very much around at the time of Michael. And he was a very interesting character because he was the image that I had of him as a kind of this icon was very different to speak to him one to one. He was a very, very deep character, very interesting person, and he was very interesting. He was like a very curious person in many, many different things and areas, and so he was a very
Mm.
stimulating person to be around. So perhaps, I mean, I'm not saying that he influenced her, but he probably helped to say to her, do what go where you wish, go take it where you want to go, because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, isn't it? Really, to do something you believe in. So, yeah, I think
Yeah.
it could well have been. I mean, for me personally, I think I was very happy to see her be happy, rather than trying to maintain something. That was it. She was very enthused when she was doing it, and she was very happy to be doing
She
something.
was creatively fulfilled. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So I think it was great
Yeah.
because it was very positive.
Hey, you didn't have a bad job either, did you? I mean, you got to really snuggle up to a what looked like a naked Kylie. I'm sure she wasn't, but I mean, gee, you had a pretty decent job that day.
It wasn't the worst job in the world. It was.
Did you have to sort of force mistakes so that you had to retake it over and over
I
again?
think I
Oh,
might.
sorry, I
I,
want to do it
I
again.
may have done it once or twice. No, it was. No, I mean, I adore Kylie anyway. I mean, she's just a very lovable person, and what I found amazing sometimes, even I was standing back, was to see how she could charm people because she was. I mean, it was never fake. It was just she could just charm people, and anytime she was dealing with people and stuff that, I mean, sometimes we used to put her through different experiences. For example, we were on tour and we disappeared for a few days because we were in Thailand and we had, I think it was like 3 or 4 days off, and it was pre-mobile phone days. So we didn't turn up at the apartment, and they started panicking, thinking, "What's happened to our dancers?" And she always kept very calm because, suddenly in the middle of a tour and your dancers have disappeared. So she was always very. I think we put her through a few paces at times, when few scares.
Well, you were all on an adventure, weren't you? I mean, that's the truth of it. I
It
mean, you can
was,
take away the fame and you can take away the product and the hit after hit. At the end of the day, this was a group, Kylie included. This was your first, I would imagine, for all you young guys. This was your first taste of the world. Everything was new. Everything tasted fresh.
yeah, it was amazing. I mean, to be honest, for me, it didn't feel like work. It felt we were just having a good time and just going from one good time to another. So it was, we had such amazing experiences and met so many different people and had different. Oh wow, this is amazing. This is new. This is new, and it didn't feel like a job. It felt like we were just on, like you said, an adventure. We were on this adventure. So, and even when on the odd time when we had dancers that had to come in, everybody loved the vibe. They loved it. They really loved the vibe, and they wanted to do more. So, for example, if someone was unavailable for certain things that we did, we'd bring in someone else, and they just. I mean, even to the other. Actually, probably this week I've had contact from ex dancers who dropped, the sort of ones that did the odd one and two, saying, "Oh, that was such a fantastic time. We had such a great time." So, it was. I can't. It was amazing. It was just something that I just loved.
Yeah. Oh, I can't imagine, especially for a young man, like to be getting all these experiences like straight off the bat in life, which are all going to make you so much wiser as you progress. Tell me this: like you were obviously, I keep hearing from many different quarters that you guys were quite a close group of dancers, and you've just described that yourself. Anyone who came into this bubble was like, "Wow, this is a happy, sort of very positive energy vibe." Were there any romantic feelings for Kylie? Did any one of you guys develop a crush on her?
Not that I was aware. I mean, personally, from my point of view, I kind of always saw her as my little sister. So I never
Yeah.
had that kind of connection. For me, she was, and she said that as well, because even the first time we met Michael, she remembered actually when we bumped into the other day how um, she, Michael said he felt actually quite intimidated, like he'd gone to meet her family, and we were giving him the once over, saying, "You better be nice to my sister."
Oh,
So it was more that sort of vibe.
that's lovely. That's lovely. Did she need protection?
She
Because I keep hearing about this, like that you guys and not just you guys, quite a few professionals who've worked closely with Kylie have said, mainly because of her stature and her size, that they felt quite protective of her. But is she the type of woman, or was she the type of young lady that needed protection at the time?
For me, I don't think she is. She's a very strong character. She knows her own mind. She's a very kind person. She's a very aware person. I mean, even things I actually thought of it the other day when I came across. She was aware of things before they became mainstream. For example, the whole thing about drinking, like what kind of water you're drinking. I remember she was always, we would just drink whatever was around, we'd just get the tap and whatever. And she'd always like make sure her water was good. She ate very healthy. I mean, she used to buy us lunch. She always supported the local stores before it was sort of trendy to say support local businesses. She'd get the local sandwich shops and they'd make us lunch and something healthy. And do you know what I mean? So she was always kind of aware, maybe very early, perhaps. So I think that she probably didn't need protection because she's a very aware person, probably more
Very
than.
intuitive, isn't
Yeah,
she?
very intuitive,
Yeah.
and I think that's something. So from a stature point of view, you felt a little bit protected, but never from a point of view of influence and the decisions. It was sometimes, I mean, just physically, sometimes if we were there and some of the fans, the security wasn't around, and she would you would be protective because you wouldn't want to have people to mob her because they would be so kind of, obsessed, not because they wanted to do anything negative, but they just kind of can't believe that they met their
Fans are
idol.
fans.
Yeah, so some of them, at the time, especially if you went somewhere they thought they might never see her again, So it was a few times, you think, oh, this, a little bit of space, please, can be. So, but she never needed protecting from any other point of view from that. I mean, apart from the odd obsessive fan who perhaps got a little bit excited when they saw her.
One of the things that attracted her fans in the early days, I believe, because I often analyse what was it about Kylie, even before she became a singer, that I was just like she was like a magnet, right? In the Henderson Kids and Zoo Family and then of course Neighbours. She was like a magnet. And why? Like I'm fascinated with my own self. Why was I attracted? And I think a lot of fans come to the same conclusion that she wants to be and tries so hard to be the best person she can be, but at the same time, in the core, she's got a steely determination about her.
She is steely. I mean, she is steely. She's not. I mean, from the point of view, even down to meeting her mother and father and stuff. I mean, they and the brother. We met her family quite a lot at the beginning, especially, and they are a very kind of a loving family because she's very down to earth. I mean, things that we did, especially she was very down to earth, and especially at the beginning, there wasn't the kind of machinery of the management that perhaps came later in terms of layers of managers and assistants and whatever. Because sometimes she would be the one to say, "Oh, what time we did meet? Or I'll see you tomorrow at 10 o'clock in the foyer." Or night, she just passed the word on herself. She knows her own mind. Definitely a person that knows her own
Yeah.
mind. And I was lucky. I mean, for me
Yeah. And
personally, sorry.
no, you go, please.
No, I said, I mean, I was lucky enough to do a few of the videos as well. Like you said, Better the Devil. And I think, what did I think I did Wouldn't Change a Thing. Give Me Just a Little More Time. Yeah, I think it was, yeah. I did do the Never Two. I think it was shot in America. I think that one was in New York or something.
You did some great work with her, didn't
Yeah.
you? Absolutely brilliant. Those videos that you just listed off there as if they were nothing. I mean, that's some of Kylie's most iconic work right there, and you got to be part of it.
Yeah. I mean, it was when I look back and even speaking to people and they were like, wow, even I mean, even to the last week, someone asked me, "Oh, you're one of the Kylie dancers," and I'm thinking, well, it was a little while ago, but it was yes, I want to say yeah, but but
You're
yeah,
still recognised.
well, yeah. I mean, even I remember getting recognised, going into. I think I was working for a trade show in Birmingham in England, and going into a little off license, and in kind of the back of nowhere, at the end of nowhere, and I can't remember. It was the only shop that was open at the time to get something. I going to get some drinks or something, and it was a guy recognised me from there. It was really bizarre, and I was thinking, wow, he must be. It
Wow.
makes you think about how far spread, and I thought, wow, this has gone far. This has reached, very.
I love it. Well, I think it's a testament to just how iconic some of that work is, and how much Kylie infiltrated British culture as well. I've got to say. Hey, look, I'm not going to let you off the hook. By the way, we passed over a question before. I said, did anyone develop any romantic feelings for her? Your friend and main choreographer Venol. There are a lot of rumours that he and Kylie dated.
Not. I never saw anything. I mean, as far as I know, I think the rumors were because a lot of the time, I think when you look at some of the shows and stuff, I mean, Venel, I don't know, I suppose, going back to what you said about the better the devil, did you make mistakes? I mean, he partnered himself with Kylie quite a lot. When we had several male and female dancers, so he partnered her quite often. But there was never anything from that I saw or was aware of myself. I mean, I'd heard
It
things.
was just a chemistry,
It
just a
was a
chemistry. Let's
chemistry.
think of Always Find the Time.
Yeah, I mean, I think she was. I mean, she was like a little. She was like, when I say little sister, I don't mean it in a patronising way, but I mean as in
No,
my
no.
sister, and
Mm.
someone you cared about. Even things when I've heard when she went through difficult times and things. I felt that as if that was part of my family. Because it's part of. I felt it very personally when I've heard when she's gone through difficult times. Because it was like, oh, you just feel that because when you meet somebody and you make a connection, it doesn't kind of go away. So, and even we did before Christmas, we did that television, the secret Kylie, and to see her, we just it was like everyone, all of us wanted to speak at the same time. It was amazing because it was.
That's lovely.
Yeah, it was. Everyone was like, "Oh, do you remember this? Oh, all the things started to come back and the stories, and you know, I remember even the first time I went to Australia, and one of the guys, Paul, he took, I remember he took, Paul took something like Factor 4 suntan lotion when you're out and go to beach, and they said, and I remember them telling them, you might as well wear, you might as well put cooking on, it was that kind of stuff. And I remember even me with dark skin, and they were saying, you better put some sunblock on, because your skin's not used to this kind of extreme. And they're always very caring. It wasn't something, they come on and it was just, it was very much like if you were part of a family. So for me, I didn't ever see anything. I'm not saying it. I think probably people perceived that because of how close we were.
Actually, can I say, Richard, you mentioned the Kylie Secret special that was fairly recent. I'm outraged. Can I tell you why I'm outraged, Richard?
What, you were not consulted?
Well, that too. No, because it keeps coming up over and over as a theme from people I talk to, and then Kylie herself, that some of those early dance routines were rather basic, and there's sort of a little bit of a giggle. But for fans like me, those routines, especially from the Rhythm of Love era, they were perfection. And now people seem to be mocking them. What's your take on those old routines? I mean, I'm thinking Shocked specifically when you took that to the World Music Awards and Top
We
of the Pops. You took Shocked routine all over the place. They're not easy routines, Richard, are they?
No, I mean, people don't realize when you compare it to now, it was a very much a different era. We had Shocked. If I remember, we were actually in Monte Carlo, and the tape
You were
arrived.
with Prince.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, we were around these people. It was unbelievable. But the tape arrived, and they weren't sure because it was between that was one of two things we were going to do, and they decided to do that, and nothing was choreographed yet, and it was choreographed in a hotel room with no mirrors, just pushing the sofa back, and we were going to record it live, one take, in a matter of I think 4 or 5 hours before
Oh, wow.
so when you look at it in that context, and now we didn't have video recorders to see what it was going to look like. We had to trust kind of what you felt. And I think if it wasn't, it was like now dancers. I mean, with the greatest respect, the technology's helped because you can record things, you can analyze it, and you can adjust, and you can. We didn't have that. It was kind of done in a very raw way, without mirrors, without, we had to feel that we. I think I'm in time. I'm kind of looking at we're moving our arms and legs at the same time. But it was. I think later on, like the videos became more sophisticated. They had big rehearsals, and they had people, probably a team of people watching from different angles, so they were much slicker. So yeah, I've seen it, and but I still love what I did, and I wouldn't. I mean, we would take on stadiums with four dancers. I mean, that would be now it would be just unheard of. You'd have probably 15,
Exactly.
20 people. So if you put
And you can say what you want, but people listening, and I know the fans will be like the fever era was the best. No, there was something raw and unadulterated. And I tell you what, Richard, in amongst watching those dance routines from the early days, particularly Rhythm of Love, gee whiz, you can dance, can't you? Far out. Can you still dance like that?
I'm not sure. if I could try, I could try. I'm not sure. I might need a little rest afterwards. But yeah, it was no. We had. I mean, just to dance, and we met so many special people, and it was. You know what was amazing was she'd always take time out. You know, to not in a way to try and seek publicity, but she'd always take time out if she could to meet people that were. You know, sometimes there were people that were, had special needs or had, disabilities and all that kind of business. She wouldn't try to say, look at, get the press to take pictures. It would be in private. And people that
Mm.
if somehow they managed to get connection or whatever, and she'd always take the time to meet those people. She would, you know, be so lovely to them. But it wouldn't be something that you would probably hear about or see, because she would always do that in private. She is a special person. I mean, special person. But she would be a special person even if she wasn't. Even if she wasn't that musically. You met somebody, and sometimes you meet people like that. They're just special people. So
Listening to you talk about Kylie, you admire her so much. Actually, sounds like you take little leaflets from her, which I can respect because I do too. The way that she treats people, the way that she conducts herself, the way that she always puts the brave face on, acts with as much class as possible, which I think comes quite naturally to her. It sounds like you have the same admiration as many of her fans.
yeah, I do. I mean, I think I've met people who inspire me, and I remember meeting. I mean, sorry, digressing a second, but I mean, I met somebody who had two disabled daughters, and they were the first one to come out and encourage someone else. So even though we're going through a difficult, their life had its challenges, and she's very much like that.
Mm.
Even though she's had her challenges over the time, and I remember even times of even like you said, some people, I don't want to mention names, but some of the stars at the time who didn't really get Kylie until they saw her. We did. I remember for me personally, one of the most iconic thing was the tribute to John Lennon, and we did that
Yes,
and I remember we were on the stage, and it was,
she's saying help.
yeah, and there was all these superstars around, and you know what? So many of them were drawn towards Kylie. They came out and came up to
Wow.
her afterwards and said, "Wow," especially some of the American ones who didn't really know as well, and they came up, "Wow, you're really good," So it was it made you feel very proud, because it was she just did. I mean, sometimes people would come in and say, "Oh, I don't, let's see what all this fuss is about," and they would come away and they would see what all the fuss is about. So
It always strikes me, Richard, how many of the most respected artists in the world, like Bono, Paul McCartney, even Michael Hutchence, Nick Cave, I suppose, to an extent. But I mean, they all seem to love her and admire her, all of them.
because I think she's very genuine. I think because of her being genuine, especially when you're in the world where not everyone
Mm.
is, I think she just is a very honest and genuine person, and fun. Not dull, kind of, she's got a naughty side. She's got she would tell a few bad jokes like everybody else, She would be, she's just a fun person to be around, a person that's aware, a person that's spiritual, person that's positive. And I think for me, that's the kind of person that I like to be around as well, if I can be around positivity and
Yeah. You mentioned, Richard, how close you were as a dance troupe in those early days. You must have been quite shocked when you learned of the passing of Mitch Bartlett.
yeah,
That must have been devastating.
yeah, that was very, very sad. He was a character. I mean, Mitch was he was a very, it took a little while to get to know him, because
Yeah.
I didn't realize how connected he was when we were there, how connected he was. He was but he was very humble, and he was,
Great talent.
great talent, very bright, very creative. He took he's not a person that opens up easily. He was never a person that would, you come out and you get to know him in a few minutes. But he would, you get to know him, and he was very, very sad, very, very sad. And you kind of have no idea what anyone's going through and what, I had no idea that he was going through such a difficult time. So
Well, he's certainly immortalised now. He was obviously famous for so many parts of Kylie's early career, including he slow danced with her in the Je ne sais pas pourquoi video, but very talented, as you say, Richard, and he's certainly immortalised. I think it was Kylie who said at the time that, he'll be high kicking in heaven, or words to that effect.
yes.
So, very, very talented guy. Yeah.
Mm.
What does it mean to you, Richard, to have those memories, right? I'm interested for you as a man. I can't imagine being, at this stage of life and being able to look back at my early adult years and have had a 1 in a million experience at such a young age. I mean, what do those years mean to you?
I think they've made me part of the person who I am. I think that I think of myself as being very privileged, very lucky, very fortunate, and I think I have great memories which I can't put a price on them. I forgot that. But I've kind of sometimes been described as someone, not my head in the clouds. What's the word? I forgot the description of, perhaps I see life through rose-tinted glasses. That's what people have
Yeah,
sometimes
yeah.
said to me.
You're a positive person. What's wrong with that? I wish we all were.
But sometimes people say, "Oh, you see life," and I'm thinking, well, I try and focus on the positive and try and work towards the positive. And we all have to deal with negative things as well. I mean, it's part of life, isn't it? And we have to
Yeah.
have the upsets and the heartbreaks and everything like that. And you just kind of sometimes you just have to dust yourself up, get up, and just try and see the positive things. And I think that's helped me. That era, particularly having so much positivity around.
Richard, I couldn't let you go unless I asked. Well, tell us about some of the cheeky moments or the scandalous moments, if you will, when you were working with Kylie. You must have seen on the set of video clips, for example, or behind the scenes on those tours, because you were on the Enjoy Yourself tour, Let's Get to It, Rhythm of Love, and the On the Go tour in Japan that sort of preceded Enjoy Yourself. You were there for a long time.
Was you surprised? I mean, I tell you, I probably would tell you a story that came to one that stuck in my mind was when we were in Japan, and I think Michael Hutchins and some of the guys from U2 were there. I think the Edge and I've forgotten his another name. Is it Andy? I think it was. There was a couple of the guys from U2 there, some of the guys from INXS, and it was Kylie. And I was walking around. I'm thinking, wow, like, I'm walking around with all these superstars. And we're not walking around. We went out to the club, and they'd let the drivers go. And it was like, so it's fine. We'll get a taxi at night. And I remember in Japan, on a Saturday night, the cabs do not do local jobs. So we tried to get taxis for the life of us, tried to pay over the odds, whatever. They wouldn't take it. And it ended up us having to walk home. And I'm thinking, I'm walking. We didn't have communication in the sense of like mobile phones and stuff just to book a taxi or whatever. So
Yeah.
we ended up walking not miles, it felt like miles at the end. But we ended up walking. I'm thinking I'm walking with, millions and millions of dollars worth. Who can't, if anyone had a clue who they were, they probably would take them in a heartbeat. But they were just a group walking along the street. I mean, Kylie.
Surreal.
Yeah, I mean, Kylie. I was part of. I met her when she was very young. I mean, I remember my first image of her was in the studio, and we were put together the original group of dancers put together by a choreographer called Carol Fletcher, and we met her in the Pineapple, and she stood there, and I remember meeting her, and I remember she had black shoes, rolled up white socks, little kind of skirt, and I remember thinking, oh wow, to be honest, my first impression was, could she keep up? Because she looked so kind of, uh, so kind of, and she never, and she did. I thought to myself, oh, I'm not sure if she's going to be able to kind of hang in there because we might have to make it a bit easier and water it down for her because she doesn't look. And she could do. She worked as hard as the dancers. She worked as hard, and didn't want breasts, and considering that she was singing as well. She danced.
Yeah, yeah.
She couldn't do every step, but whenever she could do a dance break, she did a dance break. She pushed. So I was very impressed. I was like, wow, look at this.
So you were up close and personal. What was her greatest talent as a performer, do you think?
Um,
Because remembering at the time, Everyone said she can't sing, she can't dance, she's not very talented, she's just got lucky, lucky, lucky.
Um, I mean, she could sing. She could sing. She knows that she knows her ability. She's very aware of what she is and where she is, and she can sing. And weirdly enough, actually, I heard her singing a little bit she sang a little bit when we had the breaks for the Secret Night of Kylie, and I thought, wow, her voice has got even stronger. She's improved even as time's gone on, and she can
Oh,
sing,
yeah.
she can dance. I mean, she can do choreography. She can take notes. She can do lifts, which a lot of dancers sometimes were nervous of doing. Some of them are quite big. Lifts, quite big, back to do. There's a lot of trust with doing partner work and lifts, and she could do. She would trust in that person. She would just go for it. What do I need to do? She'd ask you, what do I need to do? What do you want from me? And she would say, right, you want me to do right. Okay, you want me to do like this, like that. Okay, and she would just go for it. And so I think that's why I think
She kept up with you boys too. I'm
yeah.
telling you, I watch those YouTube clips quite often, and she kept up with you boys, and you guys are sensational dancers. You can
Yeah, that's why I
see how
think she won
professional
so
they are.
many. That's why I think she won over so much talent, people that were talented in their own
Mm.
right. She got the respect of them because when they saw what she could do and see what she does, I think that she won over. It wasn't because of, oh wow, you've got a X number of hits or whatever, because they're quite hard, the way that they see things and the way that they're very critical, and she won over so many people that she won over. And even I remember actually, when you talk about a bit of a scandal, I remember we were doing one of the Japan tours, and it was Dead or Alive and Sunita, and Kylie was headlining it.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's a funny
yeah, it
combination.
is a
Anyway,
combination. But Kylie was headlining the tour, and the other two were squabbling about who was going to go in the middle.
oh
Who was going to
wow,
go first and who was going to go second. So it ended up with Dead or Alive going first, and then Sunita going in the middle. And they were kind of squabbling between each other. But at no time Kylie was, she never was involved, and they had no desire to try and get, especially, I mean, what's his
oh,
name?
she'd have none of that nonsense, Richard.
Yeah,
She
she
would
was
have
just
none
none
of
of it.
that nonsense.
There was a
No.
few things. I mean, there were a few tricks that were played along. They kind of did a few things to each other. I'm trying to come. He's coming back to me. But we were never involved with any of that. It was always kind of just be courteous, be respectful, polite, and she would just, and everyone around her was like that as well. It wasn't. I've worked with different people, and they've always had like a bit of sometimes difficult characters around, and she never had any of that I saw anyway.
Richard, when you last danced and performed with Kylie, did you know that it was the last time?
Um, No, I mean, I think one of the last ones, I can't remember specifically, we did it at the old GAY in London. I don't know if you're familiar with that place.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So we did a couple of gigs there, and I think that might have been one of the last ones we did. But I had no idea. I mean, but I think it was because that was when they were changing record companies and everything like that. I always
yeah.
wish people the best, that's what you do. I had no idea, but at the same time, I had such a great time. I have no qualms at all.
What are you up to these days, Richard? I know that you're highly regarded, but tell us all. What are you up to?
Well, I mean, myself now, my thing is I do a bit of salsa when I can. I do actually when I'm trying to get out a little, do a bit of salsa when I can. And my main thing now is I do a martial art called Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. So I study that,
Ooh,
and that's my thing. Because again, it's quite a creative art. There's no striking, there's no kicking. It's
do you teach it?
well, I do teach. I haven't taught. I have taught before. I'm not teaching at the moment, but I'm just training myself when I can. Well, when the lockdown sort of stops. But
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. But that's my thing because again, I've found a group of people that are kind of very supportive and very. It's and there's quite a lot actually in Australia. Actually, I've got friends of mine who've got various gyms in different parts. I mean, I've done various things as well. I mean, I was working. I've worked with people with special needs. I did some work with that. I did some work. I've done various things, and that's probably something that again I love working with people that kind of challenge you in different ways. And I think for me,
Yeah, and it just it makes you a more wise person, doesn't it? To try lots of different things in life. We only get one go at it, so you might as well try a few things. Let me ask you this though, Richard. Before we go, is it time for a reunion? Do you think? Come on, why don't we get this old gang back together? And particularly, as you can tell, I'm a bit obsessed with Shocked. Do Shocked again for us. The fans would love it.
you'd have to speak. Well, yeah, I mean, I'll be up for that. I would have to get. I'll be. In fact, now as soon as I get off this tape, I might have to get on the floor, start stretching again to warm up again, to try and get the lips back into shape. But yeah, it'd be fantastic. It would be great to do some.
Do you watch yourself on YouTube?
Um,
If I was you, I would.
Not very often.
Every
I
night.
do. I do some. I mean, I have done. Sometimes it's weird because sometimes people send you clips of yourself, and you didn't watch. I
Yeah.
wouldn't necessarily go and search for myself.
Sorry about that.
No, no, not at all. But no, it's great. And sometimes, I mean, even yourself, you've sent me some pictures. I mean, sometimes you get some people send me pictures, and some of the fans have sent pictures to, and you think, oh wow, I've not seen that before. When was that? And you suddenly start to think, because there's so many great images. It was such a great time. I mean, that was it. I don't know, but I mean, I imagine the ones that came later probably still had a great time, but I know for sure we definitely did. So that, yeah.
Oh, there was something special and unique about those early days. There really, really was. And that's what drew all the fans in at the time, the ones who go back that far, that is. I know she picked up a whole new sweep of fans during the Fever era, I know that. But for us who can remember back, there was something so innocent and so lovely. And watching her grow with the support of people like yourself, it was obvious for fans like us that you were a little team and you were picking each other up. It was really obvious. So it's interesting to talk to someone like yourself, Richard, and know that that was the experience you were having at the time. A beautiful, sort of almost like a family, all on an adventure. Amazing stuff.
It was fabulous. It was a great, amazing time, an amazing experience for me personally. And I imagine that even when I speak to any of the other guys, they say the same thing. It was, we kind of didn't realize how lucky we were at the time, probably, because it was just, didn't realize. It's only with hindsight you think, wow, wow, look at that's. And when you see people's reaction to it, even now, all these years later, they just. Then you realize you're thinking, wow, I was part of something truly special. So.
On behalf of all the fans, Richard, and I really, really mean this, thank you so much for the memories. Honestly, some of the memories you helped create define moments in life for very many people, I can tell you that. So thank you for all of your hard work and all your contribution to Kylie's career.
Oh, thank you very much. And I think she's got a very special group of fans that even when we went to the secret night out and you saw the fans and the energy and the positivity that people were around, even someone would come in, some of them, they would always be complimentary to each other. It was very positive. I mean, we were at the back kind of trying to hide us so we weren't being seen until the time we were revealed. And you could see that, the vibe, we see people around. And I think she's very lucky to have that. And she's lucky to have it, partly because she's positive, attracts positive. So
she's attracted it.
Yeah.
I can tell you though, Richard, I study fan groups of different artists, and the Kylie fans aren't quite as nutty as some of the other fan groups that we've got. They're quite normal comparatively.
Yeah.
We're a bit obsessed, that's true, but that's by the nature of being a fan. But yes, we're certainly... Yeah, compared to other artists, we're nice people.
Yeah.
We're normal. Richard, it's been such a pleasure talking to you.
It's
Thank
been
you
wonderful.
for all your time.
Thank you.